Hello, everyone. X-Wall Kill Bethelite here. And Tony Morse. I was reading an article, Remembering My First Love Has Helped Me Endure. And that's Tony Morris's, life story that he put in an article. And one thing about governing body members is that the majority of Jehovah's Witnesses know nothing about their leadership. They know absolutely nothing about the people that they're betting their lives and their families' lives on being correct. And someone asked me, well, why don't we hear about very many scandals with regards to governing body members? Well, partially because no one knows anything about them. And the only thing that they do know is what they put in Watchtower articles, which is what they want you to know. And even with that, you let these governing body members talk enough, give them enough rope, and they hang themselves. Tony Morse was in the military. You could say that the military was probably the predominant influence in his life. His mother studied with Jehovah's Witnesses, but didn't join. Why is that? Why didn't his mother join the religion? His stepfather, Anthony Morris's stepfather. Now, this article leaves out information. So if you guys check it out, remember, this article leaves out information because there's got to be a reason why Tony Morris's mother didn't join that religion. She's studying, she's learning about it, and what she's learning is not causing her to join. Now, Tony Morris didn't say in the article that his father studied or that his stepfather studied. But he says, this is his words, that while driving past a Kingdom Hall, keep in mind, Tony Morris says that he sat in on his mother's studies. Now, fast forward. He's in the car with the stepdad. They're driving past the Kingdom Hall. Tony Morris, according to the article, says that he asks his stepfather, "What's that?" And his stepfather, in about as an abrupt way, told him to stay away from that. Come on now. He told him more than that. Tony Morris, you know your stepfather told you that was a cult. He didn't just say, oh, stay away from that. He told you why. Because the article leaves out the why. The article leaves out the why his mother, while learning about J-Dubs, didn't join it. It doesn't say if his mother responded favorably or unfavorably. So we have to fill in the gray area, and the gray area seems like his parents found out that's a cult. His mother was probably studying and ran by, of course, his stepfather, the things that she was learning. And he probably listened to that and says, this is a cult. This stuff that they're telling you, this is a cult. So when Tony Morris is putting this story in the article, it seems like he's trying to leave out what exactly his parents were telling him about Jehovah's Witnesses. He says that his stepfather was very against it, but he will not say why. He won't say why. Tony Morris openly admits in the article that His experience in the military was not good. His experience in the military was traumatizing, involving seeing people die, seeing people dismembered, seeing body parts of soldiers in bags, put in bags and brought back in helicopters. He was traumatized because earlier in the article, Tony Morris is in the hospital. Tony Morris is at the verge of death. And the person that's taking care of him, he could tell by the look on that person's face that it wasn't going good. And Tony Morris, in the article, and I buy this because Tony Morris went to my congregation. He went to East Poughkeepsie. Remember I told you, Bethel is Wallkill, the farm at the time. Also Patterson, different parts of New York, Brooklyn. All these facilities are called Bethel, but Patterson and Wallkill were somewhat closer together. So at East Poughkeepsie, the congregation I was assigned from Wallkill, at East Poughkeepsie, we would also get people from Patterson. We had Tony Morris in our congregation. So I got a feel for his personality. And when he says in that article that he's just laying there and he's asking the people taking care of him, hey, you've never seen a guy die, have you? And they're like, no. You know what I mean? To be that callous and you're about to die. I'm buying that because that's his person. That's him. That's him. When you talking to Tony Morris, he was not at Wallkill. I didn't see him at Wallkill. He was at Patterson. So I talked to him at the congregation. At the time, we were still having book study in people's homes. He was in my book study. I saw the guy regularly. He speaks like he has no normal human emotion. He talks like he's been emotionally stunted. He doesn't talk like a regular person, like emotion and whatnot. It seems like he talks like a robot, and it seems like the emotion is artificially put there. Like he knows he's supposed to show emotion, so he kind of fakes it, if that makes sense. So Tony Morris, he's not telling the whole story. He's not telling the whole story. His mother did not join, and his stepfather was vehemently against Jehovah's Witnesses. So much. Now let's just say, for example, let's say Tony Morris isn't leaving out information and his stepfather didn't tell him why. He just said stay away from those people. Let's just assume he didn't tell him why. Doesn't make no sense, but let's assume he didn't tell him why. Well, Tony Morris ends up joining. Against what his stepfather said, he ends up joining. Tony Morris' father, according to the article, kicked him out of where he was staying. Kicked him out of the property where he was staying. Now, does it make sense that Tony Morris' stepfather was so angry that he kicked Tony Morris out of where he was staying and he didn't have a place to live after that, and didn't ever tell him why he shouldn't join? No, that makes no sense. His stepfather was angry enough to kick him out because he told him why. He told him why not to join that religion. Because it's a cult. There's no way your parent is going to kick you out of the house for doing something they never explained to you why you shouldn't do. So, yeah, we're leaving out information in this article, Mr. Morris. So you joined the religion even though your stepfather told you not to join that. Your mother wasn't going to join that. She may have studied, but oftentimes people do because they feel like they get to like the people. They like the people that are coming to visit them, but they know the religion is wrong. Otherwise, she'd have joined it. They know the religion is wrong. So why does he join? Well, according to the article, come on now, leaving out information. According to the article, Tony Morris joined the religion his stepfather told him flat out not to join because when he was there, he had visited a lot of churches, but at the Kingdom Hall, he saw kids turning in their books. I mean, what else were they supposed to do? Kingdom Halls don't have the primary schools. They don't have the little schools that churches have for children. Churches have programs designed for children because they know children aren't adults. So they wouldn't have the children sitting next to the adults expecting the children to pay attention to information as it's given in a monotone manner from a platform. That would be dumb, for lack of better term. So most churches have a place where kids can go and learn, maybe through books designed for kids. They don't have kids sitting there looking at what Jehovah's Witnesses have, like the Revelation book, dragons and all kinds of scary things, pictures of people getting killed. Jehovah's Witnesses don't have enough sense, and we'll explain why, to have a primary school or something for kids so that the kids can learn in a way that's better for them versus them sitting next to their parents trying to understand what this dude is saying from a platform. So Anthony Morris says that he joined the religion because he saw kids turning in their book. Stop it. Stop it. You did not join Jehovah's Witnesses just because kids were turning in their pages. Read the article if you guys want to. He was traumatized. He flat out says basically the way he describes himself. And based off what I know of him and speaking to him, he seemed absent of emotions, like he was just, something was buried inside of him and he's trying to repress it. He was traumatized from war. War can be one of the worst things a person could go through. Post-traumatic stress, well known. Mental illnesses happen when people experience that type of trauma. Tony Morris saw things that was so terrible that in his mind, joining a religion where the end of everything is going to come and is going to come tomorrow would have sounded so good. You are traumatized. You are like having probably nightmares from the things that you saw during war. So of course, joining a religion where all that's going to go away and is going to go away soon would sound good. You didn't join that because you saw kids turning in books. Tell the truth. Trauma, the end of everything. Armageddon, a war of Armageddon. War sounds like something that would make sense to someone that came out of the military. Destruction, that makes sense to someone that came out of the military. Other churches talking about peace and love and Jesus Christ, that's going to be somewhat probably foreign to somebody that used to seeing death and destruction and killing. But Watchtower, as cold as it is, with the shunning and the extreme nature of it, would probably appeal to somebody that just came from a war. So your governing body member, the person that you are betting your entire spiritual well-being on, the person that you are relying on to teach you, because you're not allowed to look for information outside of what they're telling you, the person you completely trust has no theological background. He has no background. He could not go right from the military and go to some church and say, hey, I want to be a pastor here. They're going to be like, okay, what are your qualifications? I have none. But for Jehovah's Witnesses, that works out fine. Your governing body member is disturbed mentally. Disturbed. He's mentally disturbed because of war. I understand. 100% understand, because that happens to a lot of people. But he's so tortured by war, that's why he joined. And that's why a lot of people join cults, is because something happened to them that puts them in a desperate situation to hear stuff that sounds good to them. Tony Morris joins and probably did well at Patterson because his background is military. We talked about Samuel Hurd. His background, military. Bethel, strict, regimented. People coming from a military background would probably do well there. They probably would. So you got all these people following men, calling them the governing body, calling them Jehovah's channel, and all they are men out of the military. These are just guys out the military. These aren't guys from a theological seminary. These aren't guys who just grew up and they were geniuses with the Bible. These aren't guys that had some sort of biblical ability that was above and beyond what is normal. These are just guys out of the military. So a strict, regimented lifestyle works well for them. Makes perfect sense. That's not a reason to bet your entire life on what they tell you. You can even look at what Tony Morris talks about. One thing about it that I don't fully understand is I don't know how long Tony Morris was at Patterson before he came to East Poughkeepsie. But Tony Morris was not at East Poughkeepsie very long before he was a governing body member. So if Tony Morris was at Bethel for as long as he was at Poughkeepsie before he became a governing body member, he became one quick. Something's not right there. Somebody's not telling us something. You don't go to Bethel in a couple months, you're GB. And it looked like it. I remember when, we're sitting in the dining room looking at Tony Morris as he's one of the new governing body members. And he was reading everything right off the paper for the most part, it seemed like. And when you hear him talk, he just looks like he's out of his element. He don't look good at what he's doing. The emotion is not really, doesn't seem to be there. He sounds pessimistic. He sounds like a salesman. Something don't add up. You don't go to Bethel and you're governing by that quick. Something is green handshakes. Something happened for that to take place. There's some people that think that, Tony Morris or Anthony Morris has something to do with the, Philip Morris cigarette company. And there's a lot of money involved with that. I don't know. I just know something's not right with the amount of time he was at East Poughkeepsie. That's when I became aware of him, because I wasn't at Patterson. I was at Wallkill. I became aware of him when I saw him at East Poughkeepsie. So for him to go from East Poughkeepsie to governing body that quick, yeah, something's not right. Something is not right. He wasn't even in the book study long enough to become the conductor. Somebody else was conducting the book study. Now, Tony Morris conducted at times, but he wasn't the regular conductor. He wasn't even there long enough to do that before he's governing body member. Something's not right here. But what is obviously not right is both Samuel Hurd and Tony Morris. Samuel Hurd joined the religion because he saw some women that looked good to him. You know, he came out the military and saw these women, they looking good, and he joined and married one. Anthony Morris comes out of war. He is traumatized and disturbed, and he joins a cult. These are the people you're following. Tony Morris says that he preached to his brothers, but does not say that they join. Of course they're not going to join. If their stepfather knows it's a cult and told all of them it was, of course your brothers aren't going to join. They know it's a cult. Everybody in the family knows it's a cult except for Tony Morris, because Tony Morris went through a traumatic situation. You don't need to make major decisions after being traumatized. A major decision is where you decide to go and learn about God. So you're traumatized when you decide where you're going to learn about God. That's how you end up in a cult. And your brothers and your stepdad and everybody else ends up somewhere else. Why is that? Because you were traumatized and didn't have therapy. And you joined a religion that's against therapy. That's not good. You go through something like that, you need help. You need maybe medication. You need to talk to someone that's trained to help people with post-traumatic stress. Not join a cult that wants you to just read Watchtowers. That would be why, even in his old age, he sounds like a robot. He don't sound like he's had any kind of therapy from war. Then at the bottom of the article, talks about his kids. I guess he had 2 kids and both of them, joined the religion. I know his wife, Tony Morris's wife, I haven't heard her speak, which was odd. It's very odd to not hear a person talk at all, whether it be at the congregation. Of course, I wasn't hanging out with her at the congregation necessarily, but book study is a smaller group. Now, I never heard her speak at the book study. I didn't hear her comment. So I don't think she was enjoying her time at Bethel. His kids, they both of them, I guess, joined the religion. And, both of his boys, correct me if I'm wrong, I think both of his boys married black women, and they have a picture at the bottom of the article that I'm talking about, and it looks like you got his son on his left and his son on his right, and both of their wives, and I think they're both black women. I can't knock them there. Can't knock them there. You know what I mean? That's not a bad thing to do. I'm not hating on you. I ain't hating. That's good. But you look at the 2 women, then you look at the 2 guys, and it's like those girls could have done a lot better. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just telling the truth. That these 2 women, when you look at them in the article, and you look at the one guy, and he didn't have any hair hardly, and then you look at the other, and he's on the way to not having any hair, and they both look goofy. These women could have done better. And that's what happens. That's one of the reasons that women should not marry Jehovah's Witnesses, because 9 times out of 10, it seems like you're marrying down. You're marrying down because you only have so many options. You're not allowed to marry anybody other than what's at Watchtower, and you're not allowed to marry out of the religion, and you're not allowed to marry anybody that doesn't have a specific position, really. So your options are limited, and you end up with women just settling. They could be happy with these 2. I don't know. I haven't met the 2 sisters, and I hadn't met the 2 guys. But just off of looking at the picture, you immediately say, yeah, they married down, way down, because those 2 look goofy. Comment down below. Let me know what you think. I'm just telling it how it is. So yeah, sisters marrying Jehovah's Witnesses, you end up settling, you end up marrying somebody that's kind of ugly because you think, and Watchtower tells you that they're spiritual and they're good, and then you find out after you marry them that they're not. They're not that good. They're not that spiritual, and they don't look good. So what do you end up with? You end up with an unhappy marriage. And of course, everybody in the picture smiling because they're taking a picture, getting ready to put in a Watchtower or Awake or whichever magazine that's in. Of course, everybody's smiling. But I doubt they're all that happy. So comment down below. Let me know what you think. 937-789-4029. Most women, it seems, they go to Jehovah's Witnesses and they get married, and you look at the husband and they could have done a lot better. Ex Wallkill Bethelite signing out.